Shall we just
All
try?
right, guys, we are getting started here a little bit late, but not too bad, only about 5 minutes. We're going to be doing, I guess, we're going to call this episode 3. Really don't have a good name for it yet, so we're still going with Incursions Talk Radio at the moment. But basically, what we're going to be talking about today is the new information that just dropped for the new Battlefield 5. I'm going with 5. I'm not calling it V. It's 5. And we're going to go ahead and just talk about the information, not necessarily in the trailer, because the trailer was just a shit show of nothing, especially for people who actually want information about the game. But from what we saw in Jack Fragg's video, which if you haven't seen that, I would highly recommend that you do, because he does it really well of explaining and laying out a lot of the information that they did on press day that they didn't do on the public reveal day. And then other publications that did come out with their own information today and yesterday evening as well. So we did put together a little bit of a bullet list. You'll be seeing it up on the screen. The guys will have it over there to look at. But yeah, so right away, I just want to know from you guys' point of view, did you like what you saw in the trailer? Just forget about all the stuff that we've read so far. Did you like the trailer?
Okay. Um. So, I mean, I think we are kind of spoiled with the BF1 trailer because it was so much of a bang, and I felt like the trailer wasn't necessarily bad.
I didn't really get
But
hyped up in the Battlefield 1 trailer.
It's not really what I think people expected as a follow-up to BF1's trailer, and I felt like it was a lot of information, but not presented properly. So it was kind of confusing to me how it was presented, in the sense that it showed a lot of cool stuff, but I felt like it showed a little bit of everything when it shouldn't have. It should have been more clear what it was showing, essentially.
Okay. What about you, Safe?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Deuce. It's like it was a little bit of too much, but like honestly, I'm not disappointed and I'm not hyped either. I wasn't really expecting anything either. I think I got fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice. I mean, no. Fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. It's
Oh, yeah.
I had this happened to me with BF1. It's not gonna happen again.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. So okay. So both of you guys kind of not really disappointed, but just kind of like meh about it. I myself was I was disappointed. I really was expecting a little bit more information wise from maybe not the trailer itself, but just the way it was presented with the production of everything that going on. It was very lackluster and really terrible jokes. But overall, you look pretty. Look, it looks beautiful, which what Battlefield trailer doesn't at this point. I thought, once you did take a look at it, a small look at it, there were certain things that you could kind of pick out and go, oh, that's going to be kind of cool if it's in the game. Certain things that that I kind of looked at and went, oh shit, I hope that's not in the game. But yeah, overall, I think the trailer was very meh for me too. I walked away from it just not really thinking a whole lot. So with that being said, definitely recommend that you guys go check out Jack Fragg's. He has some fantastic videos on it. He's also got an interview with one of the producers. Fantastic interview there. He goes over some stuff as to why they did some things. So yeah, first thing that we're going to talk about is their new idea of attrition. And basically from what I have gathered off of Jack Fragg's vid and from the interviews that we've seen so far, is that their idea of attrition is basically less of everything, so that you have to think of what your actions within the game, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, where you're going to go, and who you're going to go with. So it's pretty interesting. The first thing on there, and these are just some notable points that I put down, guys. You are more than welcome to point out some stuff in chat if I did miss it. But the points that you see up on the screen are pretty much the notable points that I saw. There is no longer any fully regaining health. Health bar is broken into stages, and once you fall below a stage, you do lose all of that stage's health. Players interaction, so that's going to be another thing that they're going to be having for your med kits and your ammo. So if you want to have meds or ammo, you have to actually interact with it, and there's an animation that you have to go through in order to get it. And same thing with ledges. and things like that. No auto spotting, no 3D spotting. Spawn in with less ammo, less, or you're gonna have to actually loot small amounts of health, or I'm sorry, ammo off of dead bodies, possibly health, if the community actually does want that in the future. So with that being said, we'll start over from the top. So no longer going to have full health regen, and you're going to have a health bar that's broken into pieces, which is not the first time this has happened. And if you fall below it, you are going to be losing that that little stage of health. So, Safe, I want to start off with you, because I think that this really does affect competitive players quite a bit with the way that we have played in the past. What do you think of this?
I mean, I need to test it before I make a conclusion. But from my point of view right now, I think it's I don't see it as a viable mechanic. Now I know it's done this way because everyone can revive, and only medic can heal. But I think we're going towards this direction a little bit like incursions, which is we getting once again forced up to this team play thingy, and there is no individualism anymore. I know there is skill in the game with aim. I mean, with the what is it called, the gun mechanics movement now, but not being able to heal up automatically like you do now when you're out of combat. Um, I don't know how that it's going to work, but like you're gonna literally be, you have to play with someone who knows how to teamwork. And from my perspective, and from my from what I've experienced so far, is that there are not many people who can actually teamwork in Battlefield. There is some sort of teamwork, but it's it's just to some extent. Most of the time, it's just people having fun, spamming shit. So I don't think it can work properly.
So you don't think that this is a good move at all?
No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm a bit skeptic about it. I am. It's something I'm like, because I personally support stuff like that. It's not that I find it. I just don't see it fit in a game like Battlefield. I see it fit in a game like CS. But in a game like Battlefield, I don't see that as something that fit in, like in a 64 server with a lot of explosions. Can you imagine how that is going to be? You're gonna be taking damage constantly.
Yeah, I know exactly how it's gonna be. Have you ever played Karkin
in
Battlefield 2?
Your screen is gonna be red 24/7. So already there, that you will be actually like you need to play with someone who can heal you, or you need to play. You're forced up to play medic yourself.
Well, I think that's going to be a big learning curve for a lot of people, is actually using the classes that they're supposed to use now, instead of just going for one. Deuce, what about you? You like the move?
I mean, I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like this could be more of a hint of what their direction with the competitive scene is going to be like, as opposed to what it's going to be for like the public, just the majority of people just playing casually. I think it's going to be very frustrating for people that are playing casually. They're going to have a hard time understanding why this is this way, and I think they're going to get more frustrated than anything else, as an overall, demographic. But I feel like something like this, like Safe was saying, in a game like CS:GO, but then that would make a lot more sense. But in this case, we're going towards like more of a single elimination type game mode, like maybe like defuse and rescue and stuff like that. And in something like that, it makes a lot more sense. Now, does this mean that, maybe incursions in BF5 or whatever the competitive modes are, does that mean we get a single life mode, which I know has been talked about on Twitter a lot? Does this mean that we get to have a lot more classes, so a lot more variations of like different medics and stuff like that, combinations, which is not the 10 we have now. Maybe that could be expanded to 15, so there's more roles. But I feel like this is definitely like them trying to say, we want you to work more as a team. So as opposed to just, you're playing Curse and you get a guy to half health instead of the guy just hiding in the corner and auto regenning. That medic is going to be playing such a bigger role.
Yeah.
I assume this is the same with the ammo. Like, you're playing incursions, like unless you're playing, you know, in a ranked game and you're just destroying people, you're really not going to run out of ammo in a competitive setting. So that little ammo, now you're finally going to start running out of it if you don't, you know, watch your shots. So in this case, the ammo bearer of the classes will play a bigger factor, I feel.
Yeah, I think overall, I'm kind of surprised. I thought you guys maybe like this a little bit more than what you're saying. I love the move. I love it. I absolutely love the idea of limiting the amount of health, not necessarily in a way where you can't recover at all, but to the point where you can't fully recover. I absolutely loved back in the day when you had to have a medic heal you up all the way. Where you had to run around the map, and if you weren't finding a medic, you were down 20 health. That's just the kind of state that you had to be in. That was just it. So
I mean, if the time to kill is lowered, though, then I have no problem with this move. This move is a good move. But if we have to, like, if I have to play a public game where I'm getting killed by like an automatico in like half a millisecond, then honestly, like, that's not. This isn't a good move. But if the time to kill is reduced and it's something like that's manageable, so even if you do get a 50 health, if you're skilled enough, you can still, survive. Then this makes perfect sense. I agree.
Well,
but I just see it as a.
If you're having to fight against automaticos anyway, you're not going to be living through it. You're going to be dying pretty much every single time. It's just whoever pulls the trigger first. Yeah. I mean,
right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if they can move away from this kind of stigma of like the FAMAS, the automatico, the K10 hardline, they just remove that and make it a more, balanced gunplay aspect. Then
there's always going to be a gun like that in the game. There always is. But for me, I think it's a good move. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how teams are going to be developing around this. I think that we're going to be seeing some more interesting. I think this is going to slow down some of the ridiculous zerging that we've had in previous games before. If you played back, I know Safe, back when you played the South Americans, that was one of the things that they always did. They just swarm you on every single point.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing you can do. And with this move, it kind of slows that down just a little bit. And with the addition, like what we were talking about, we'll get into the gunplay a little bit later on, but with the addition of the gunplay, now you all of a sudden have a game that's less based on just attrition in terms of throwing bodies over and over and over and over at you and just trying to beast your way into a point to where now you actually have to think about it and hit your shots instead of just, well, I'm just going to, jump in here and do a Zozo jump, and then all of a sudden, I'm down half health, hide in the corner, heal up, do it again over here, half health, hide in the corner, do it again over here. Like, you actually have to make sure that you have your meds around you. And I love the fact that they are making a lot of these player interactions. So that's also really, really cool. And that kind of leads into our next one here, is the fact that you do have to go up to a med kit, you do have to go up to an ammo kit, and you have to hit E or whatever it's going to be to get that ammo, to get that med supply, so that you can't just, chuck it while you're running and you just automatically refill whatever it is that you're going to refill. I like that idea. Also, I like it because one of the frustrating things that I had with med kits, not so much, I don't think in Battlefield 1, mostly because I use the med packs instead of the med boxes. But I know in Battlefield 4 it's really frustrating because of the way they did it, where if you were suppressed, you wouldn't be able to heal. The med bags weren't really all that, or med packs weren't really all that good. That was a little bit of a frustrating thing. So I kind of like the fact that, I might get some, shots hitting overhead, but, with it being a mechanic where you have to physically grab and then heal up, in my opinion, it should do away with any kind of mechanic like that, and you should be able to heal whenever you want. So I do like that idea. Again, I like the idea that it is slowing down some of the moves. You have to kind of heal up before you do make your push. Maybe that's going to encourage players to kind of group up before they do make any kind of a big push into a certain point. So I could definitely see this like in a squad breakthrough style mode, where you're going to have everybody, medic's going to throw out that med pack. Everybody's going to grab some meds, heal up real quick, and they're going to get ready, and then boom, they all push all at once. I like that idea. I like that possibility that's going to be happening. Do you guys like the player interaction?
I mean, it definitely. I mean, I like it because it makes me not have to rely on, like, especially when I'm playing public. But this is different. This is the thing. Like, there's a like in the public aspect. There's a like in the competitive aspect. I think. I mean, this move I think balances out in the end in both, in the sense that you are forcing people to commit to healing themselves as opposed to just throwing something on their feet and then it's automatically doing while they can still aim and while they're regenning. That makes sense. For public, it makes sense as well in the sense that I don't have to now rely on people that are new to the game, maybe that are in my squad, and I have to like run around, trying to like ask them for ammo or healing, and they're never going to give it to me. My only concern here is that these points where you can grab ammo and grab everything else, that there's enough of them to go around so that people can just like camp a few spots, and just wait for people to go and try to get health, and they get shot at. But ultimately, that's just a public problem. So I'm sure they'll think of a solution to that.
Well, I mean, I really don't see how it'd be just a spot where they're going to camp it, because you can throw down a med pack, I would imagine, anywhere you want to. Now they do have the depots that you probably would be able to get some health at certain flags.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I mean, those aren't going to be the only places. If a person goes to the same depot over and over and over again, well, that's his own damn fault. I mean, it's no different than him going there for a vehicle and you're camping the vehicle with a mine or whatever, in my opinion. Safe, what do you like the player interaction? You think that that's going to be good for comp, or just a public thing, or what?
Like, I don't think it's the interaction, like when you pick up stuff and I don't know, is dragging included too?
Yeah, you're going to be able to drag, which that's going to be a little bit later on in the medic part.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're going to be able to drag players in it. But for now, it's just grabbing meds, grabbing ammo, ledges, that type of stuff. Like that's all.
For competitive, I don't see it as a bad thing, but don't forget, like right now we're talking about it's Battlefield, and it all depends on how incursions in Battlefield 5 will be developed. Let's say if we're still gonna have tanks, which we most likely will, and you are running from base to I don't know where, and he just spots you a mile away. He shoots once, boom, half of your health is gone. What are you gonna do now? Like, this is just one simple scenario, and that's going to be super frustrating. As I said, I like this idea and I like it for comp, and I actually one of the guys who wants this, for the game. I just don't see it working in incursions with the amount of explosions and vehicles or whatever stuff we're gonna have in this game mode. I mean, and I think it's gonna be in BF5 as well.
Like we said before, the attrition the whole idea of the attrition is that there's going to be less grenades, less ammo, less of everything. So ideally, I would imagine you're not going to be seeing people spawning in with hand grenades, 2 AT grenades, 7 rockets, and I don't know, like shit out of mine or something. But so I mean, I think that there's going to be a lot less explosives in there. There is a picture, I think I have it in the rotation here, where it shows one of the exotic archetypes that they're talking about doing. And I could definitely imagine the way that they're structuring that, like they're going to be able to limit spam doing in that fashion. No auto spotting, no 3D spotting.
Before we move forward, my only concern with what we said above is that, I mean, for the public aspect of the game, it'll be great. My only concern for the competitive side, and I just hope they figure this out well with how these interactions work and how long they take, etc., is that, like, I don't want them to slow down. I feel there's like let's say 3 types of speed in a competitive game. There's like CS, where it's pretty slow, in a lot of situations, and then put Battlefield like in the middle, and then the other extreme is like COD, where it's just like hectic as hell, a lot quicker. And I feel like Battlefield's kind of in the middle, and I feel like if they go too much to one side, and slow things down too much, like already Incursions has slowed down the competitive side a lot. Not too much where it's frustrating, but it's still slowed down a lot. So I'm just afraid that they're gonna slow it down too much, and make it way too campy, and way too head glitchy for no reason. Now, I said this is just a concern I have. I don't think this is the way they're going. But Incursions, for example, has been a lot more of a head glitch fest compared to the past, to be honest.
Uh,
sweet spot.
I would disagree there. Battlefield 3 was a glitch city. Um, but yeah, okay. So I understand what you're saying there. Speed of it. I think the map design, game design is going to help out with a lot with that. So no auto spotting, no 3D spotting. They're talking about the environment. Really, you having to pay attention to like grass, and you're going to be interacting with the environment, and all that kind of good stuff. I like this move. I think that the no spotting, no 3D spotting is good. I come from a background where spotting wasn't a thing, so I like that. I come from competitive settings where 3D spotting was definitely not part of it. So yeah, that's a good move in my opinion. I think that's going to be good for public, and that's going to be good for the competitive play. I like the way Incursions does it right now with the ping system. I think that is absolutely the right way to go. What do you guys think? Real quick, because we got to move on.
I think the 3D spotting is not a bad idea to remove it, but it also comes down to the map design. To avoid something like Deuce mentioned about like camping and all that stuff. It's already an issue. It has always been an issue in Battlefield, because the reason 3D spotting is there is because the map design, and along with the soldier and like character design, it's sometimes it's hard to spot someone in the game.
Yeah.
Like and PUBG is a really good example. So that's like that could be an issue, and I think a lot of people's gonna whine about it in Battlefield. In competitive setting is okay, but that also comes down to the map design. So for me, I don't mind it's not there. I mean, as long as we have a mini map and it's pretty clear, and whoever you spot, it pops up on the mini map instead of on your screen, like on your what is it called? Your normal HUD. Then it's okay for me. But it's also it's like a lot of changes, and you really need to test all that, and you need to test it like in a competitive setting, not just in a casual setting.
Yeah. Deuce, what do you think?
Well, for me, I mean, 3D spotting not being there anymore, big plus. I'm very favorable of this. 2D spotting, not so bad. I mean, if, like I said, if the guy's always on your minimap, you're still forcing players to look both at the minimap and in front of them. It's not that bad. I do really like how Incursion does it right now. The only problem with Incursion spotting right now is that it's easily glitched, and since a lot of times, like, I'm in a window or something, and some of the debris fell or whatever, so it kind of glitches the building I'm inside. So like I'll spot through the window, and instead it's just gonna spot in front of me inside the building. So it's gonna be like trying to spot like the field in front, and it's just spotting that like my building, which doesn't really help. And I'm afraid that having that in a situation where you're 64 man, a big map, a lot of destruction, fortification, all this stuff, that is going to amplify the glitchiness of this. But if they can figure it out without that, then I mean, that's a move.
Well, I feel like if they go with a ping system, then it's going to be just squad based. You're not going to be seeing a ping system for the rest of the players on the 32 team.
No, yeah, for sure.
Because you're not gonna have 31 pings wrapping up on the freaking field all the time.
Also, sorry, one thing about the ping system that's really good, and I think is going to be a big plus moving forward, is that the fact that it tells you to call out. So it tells you like what that building is called, and so that avoids like us comp players having to make up names for stuff. And then you move teams and you switch teams, and everyone has a freaking different name for stuff.
Yeah.
And then the public players can learn the names too. So it's not, whatever house, maybe it's, I don't know, Firehouse or whatever they decide to come up with different names. But I think that's good. Moving on.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy about it. I'm not gonna miss 3D spotting at all. I more power to them for getting rid of it. Next, we're going to be talking about fortifications. Fortifications are basically being able to build certain things in pre-designated positions. So it's not going to be like Fortnite where you can just, zip on up and build yourself a little tree house right in the middle of nowhere. You're going to have to take certain positions, do certain actions in order to have a position to fortify or to dig into. Some of the things that you can do will be like sandbags, foxholes, trenches, barbed wire, tank stoppers, reinforced blown down buildings. So if it blows up in a certain section, you can actually build that wall back up in certain ways. according to the info, and supply depots for ammo and possibly health. I love that idea. I think that I think that that's pretty damn cool to have that. The support kit will be able to place and build fortifications faster, and also be able to build offensive fortifications like MG nest and cannons. Now, I don't like that. I think that if it was just going to be the sandbags, foxholes, depots, that kind of stuff, that would be fantastic, because it is very annoying in certain places on the map. We've talked about this on giving feedback through incursions, as well as just in past battlefields. It's very, very frustrating when all of a sudden all of your cover on a certain flag is completely gone, and there's absolutely no way really to take that other than just spam smoke and hope that they don't, just magically find you through it. I think that it's going to be pretty interesting that everybody can do this. I don't know, like, I think that it's going to be really curious to see how the point system is going to work on this, because are we going to have people wanting to just build shit to spam the points to try and farm it as much as possible and not really play the game all that much? Or are we going to have, is it going to be fast enough for a player like me, who I don't really capture points all that much as I defend them? Once I clear out a point and I got some players on the point, I just kind of leave. So I don't know if I'm going to be one of those players that actually builds them, but I do like the idea of it. I think that it's going to be helping a lot of map. What's the word I'm looking for? It's going to help a lot of problems that we've had in past maps in having that late game capability. As far as like the offensive stuff, I think that's just, depending on how strong those offensive fortifications are, I think that could just be bad. Putting an MG nest in a certain position where maybe he's going to be in a head glitch spot where it's going to be hard to dig him out, or have a ring of cannons in an area to where and I don't know how it's going to be designated, but I don't know about that idea. That kind of worries me a little bit. So what do you guys think about fortifications?
It's another thing that I'd like to see it in action. Need to test it before I can really say
Safe is not going to say anything. He's just like, you know what? I'm just going to stay. I'm going to stay political through all of this. I'm not going to say yay or nay.
I've been hanging out too much with the dice guys. So I can't really.
No, that could be a bad thing.
There are just so many ideas. There are so many stuff coming to the game, which is pretty cool. I don't think rebuilding stuff is a bad thing. I just think, like you said, it should be limited, or I want it personally to be limited. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if a building gets blown up, we should be able to repair it, build it, whatever. Building up, like a fortress or whatever you do with an MG, that can be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Using that on an offense, that would be really frustrating to be up against.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying I want to see that in action. I want someone to abuse it, and then I would be able to say if this is a good or bad thing.
Yeah.
I like the idea. I see the like where you a little bit like Rainbow Six, where you build up.
Keep talking, guys. I gotta take care of something real quick, but keep talking.
Where you build up, like what is it you do in Rainbow Six? Like you have these special.
You fortify the walls, or you can put little wood planks on the doors, and
that's pretty cool. And that's something I wouldn't mind to see on Incursion or BFV at least.
I mean, from my point of view, like, I don't mind how Rainbow Six does it, because you get 3 armor fortifications, and so that's limited, and then you can shitty wooden fortify anything you want unlimitedly. What I would like to see instead is kind of like a currency system, in the sense that the more points you get in the game, the more currency you accumulate. So it's not like, oh, I just start the game off, I can just start fortifying whatever I want. It's more like, I don't know, maybe I just got 1,000 points, I capped a few flags, killed a few people. Okay, now I can fortify this position and help my team out. But it shouldn't be like a spammable thing. It shouldn't be like, oh, I'm the fortify guy, I'm just gonna fortify the whole map. On the other hand, I think it is a really cool thing because like the big problem we've dealt with, and I think this is really them listening to feedback, that there's destruction is great, but maybe there's a little bit too much destruction. So you start the game off and it's like, oh, this is a nice map, and you're towards the end of the game, it's like, okay, well, where do I hide? It's just a big
Yeah.
open field, and in that moment, it's just frustrating to play something like that. So hopefully this this solves a bit of these issues. Even in comp, I mean, if you look at, when you're playing Giant Shadow, you're in B house, the B house is completely destroyed. You're towards the end where you're like, that's not even a viable point anymore. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing, but that would allow you maybe to fortify a wall again. Because if you enemy wipe, so you team wipe them, and you're just waiting for them to come back, maybe you could spend that, 10 seconds fortifying maybe a little wall so you could have a little bit more cover. Maybe that's a good thing, that's a bad thing. I mean, ideally, that's something that could be interesting to see, and especially see how teams play around with that ideal.
Yeah, I think what I'm interested most about it, and we'll move on right after this. But what I'm most interested about is to see how it's going to be playing out in, like I said, like an incursion setting where you can set down those barbed wire, tank stoppers, that type of stuff to slow down those enemy pushes. So let's just say we have a Giant Shadow-like map. In the next game, you're going to be able to go up past the point, set up some traps, back off of it, and then kind of slow them down on their pushes to try and get as many points as possible coming into it. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how those things actually work out. All right, so next, talking about movement here. So movement is supposedly going to be a lot different here. So we're going to be having a dive feature. So you can dive forwards, backwards, left, and right, all directions that you can. The thing is, though, is that you are going to be having a slight delay before you can actually shoot back, apparently, after the dive. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see how useful this dive is going to be. How long is that delay? I'm curious to see how it's going to affect the hitbox of it. Are you going to be able to run, jump, and then go for the dive command, and how's that going to affect your hitboxes? All kinds of good stuff like that. Crouch sprint is going to be in, so curious to see how that is going to actually work. Jump out of windows and roll on the ground to allow you to sprint through them without having to break them open. So that's pretty interesting there, being able to, because this kind of goes back to what you were saying a little bit earlier, Safe, about the pacing of the game. Stuff like this helps the pacing of the game because all of a sudden you don't have to stop to break open a window to go through it. You just run right through the house. I like that. I like this very fluid feeling of motion that kind of reminds me back in the BC2 days. And I understand that you didn't roll through things, but back in BC2 on Eureka Harbor, and you're on the top section of the houses, like you didn't fucking like try and find doors. You just used your 203 and blew up holes and just ran straight through. Like I remember not even using a door and being able to go through all the way through cover just by blowing holes in the wall and running through. So that kind of reminds me of that feeling of freedom where I can just go where I want, how I want, and not be really hindered all too much. Objects in the environment are going to be reacting to player movement. We talked about that with grasses, water. So if 3D spotting, so in place of that, if you're in the grass and you're rolling around like a sniper, then the grass is going to be moving around from you. And then the last one on this one, and this is what I'm kind of like, ugh, I saw in the video and I was like, no, I don't like this, is the pushback from shockwaves from both friendly and enemy rockets. So I think you said that they were kind of toying with the idea of having friendly rockets do it, but definitely enemy rockets, which is a squad deal, and we'll talk about that later, comes down, blows up, the shockwave comes in, hits you, knocks you down if it doesn't kill you. Depending on how frequent that is, I could see that just being super annoying. Screen shake is already terrible right now. This would just bring it to a whole nother level of blah. So, Safe, what do you think about that? What do you think about what we just discussed here?
I mean, the explosion part, as long as it stays in casual, I don't mind it's there. Would be cool to see it. I mean, I remember Drunk said something about it happens very rarely, so I hope so. Yeah. What else did you talk about?
Well, I mean, what do you think of the diving, the delay after diving?
Oh yeah, the diving,
jumping out of windows.
Well, I said that it could be a cool feature to have, as long as you don't use it to wipe out a whole team. thing is, yeah, we need a mechanic, some sort of aggressive mechanic, aka more like maybe a defensive mechanic. Like I explained earlier, where you are in a 1-on-2 situation, and then you just kill one guy, and then the other one, he just comes behind you, and then you do this dive and to maybe avoid the first 2 bullets, because you can't regenerate health anymore. So
Mhm.
you just slide your way, you get that kill, but then there's a cooldown. So if there's a third guy that comes, then he will most likely kill you. Or if there's not a third, then you will survive that situation. But the thing is that it shouldn't be a mechanic that can be abused, and the hitbox is very important. That like the hitbox shouldn't be affected by this, and we
Yeah.
have experienced in the past that hitboxes can always be abused, especially with movements like this.
Yeah, that would be my biggest concern.
Yeah, same here. So I think, and I also one more thing is that you need to see this yourself. Like we just saw it from the player's perspective, but I want to see someone doing it in front of me.
Yeah, I just hope it's not like it is in COD, where like it feels like they just sprint and jump everywhere. That's just
Yeah,
ridiculous.
or battalion. No, please no, not that gameplay. Because right now, from the things I've read so far, with the gun mechanics being so good, changing completely with like the spread is being removed, and there is more skill to 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 the gun mechanics, and plus the movement. That would be really sad to have another mechanic that can be abused and actually would ruin that whole experience with the gun mechanic.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Deuce. What do you think about that? We'll get your point in, then we'll move on to our next one.
I mean, I don't really mind the diving stuff. I think it could be cool as long as it's not abusable. Like, I don't want like a Zuzu jump dive, whatever. As long as you can't shoot back, that you can't really glitch that, then that's fine with me. Crouch sprint, I'm kind of concerned about. I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of, movement or shooting penalty associated with that. Maybe you do less steps, so you're sacrificing some kind of gunplay aspect. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense.
Well, I mean, you can't shoot and sprint now, so I would imagine to be the same thing.
Okay, but there should be a penalty for crouch sprinting. That feels weird. You're I mean, I don't know.
I don't think it's as fast. I don't think it's as fast as regular sprinting. It's just faster than if you were crouch walking.
Don't assume, okay?
Oh, I'm assuming.
Okay. No, don't do it. I mean, the object environment, reacting to player movement, I like that. It's part of kind of the realism, and especially in pubs, is gonna be cool. Like maybe you don't see that sniper laying in the grass, and all of a sudden the shit starts moving. The signal that he's in there. That I think that could be a cool aspect. The shockwave thing is the thing I'm very concerned about, in the sense that, but I can't really criticize until I know more. Is that, how often does it happen? Can I shoot while I'm getting knocked back? Is there like, I don't know, can I hit fire while, because otherwise I feel like I'm getting, I'm getting a rocket shot at. If the guy gets me, I'm dead. If he doesn't, I get knocked back, and the guy pushes me, and I'm dead anyways. People shouldn't be rewarded for missing. This goes, ties back to what stuff we've said before. So as long as you're not rewarding people for being shit, then that's fine with me.
Yeah. All right. So next, we're gonna talk about gunplay. So this is probably one of the most exciting aspects of it. In my opinion, that's going to be there for this game is the gunplay. So no more visual recoil. I think that everybody can say thank God
Praise
to that.
the Lord.
I don't understand why they took it out of Battlefield 4 and they were like, hey, let's put it back. Yeah. But yeah, no visual recoil is fantastic. Every gun has a unique recoil pattern and no random spread. Now, I got the no random spread from the interview that Jack did with the producer. So he said that there was not going to be any random spread, but they were going to have a recoil pattern. And the recoil can be quite intensive depending on what gun you use. So we might be seeing, something where we have to like a 2-round burst a certain gun because it's going to be just way too strong to control. there is going to be shooting while vaulting. So now we can vault and shoot at the same time, but there is an accuracy penalty while you are vaulting. Totally okay with that. Love the idea. Shooting while jumping. So this is something that I'm absolutely happy about as well. So basically, when you jump at the very height of your jump, when you start coming down, you can then start to shoot, not on the way up, but on the way down. So fantastic. I love that. Although, kind of tying back into what we were talking about with the diving and shooting, you know, that might be a little bit on the with the hitboxes, but I still like the idea because that's just kind of Battlefield 4, 3, you know, we did that a lot, and it's just kind of ingrained in the way I play now. LMG bipods will be easier to set up and use. I don't think anybody's really too thrilled about that in competitive. Shooting grenades, catching them in the air, and throwing them back after an enemy has thrown them. That's an interesting one. So depending on how long these fuses are going to be, I know that in Battlefield 1 they were like really short, but if they are a lot longer in Battlefield 5, and I could definitely see this being interesting for competitive, especially when you get at like a really tight point, like on a bomb or something like that. Guy throws in a couple of nades. You know, those players are then able to toss them back really quick, or potentially even shoot them on their way in. I know there's a couple of nade spots back in Battlefield 3 where if you had that potential, especially on, I think it was oh shoot, what was that? Highway. There was a couple of nade spots on there for 5v5s that we would use to get people out of head glitches, that if you were able to spot those nades, you could pop them before they even hit. That's kind of a cool idea. I like that. But bullet penetration on thin materials, I think we've always really kind of had that, but I guess they're going to be really focusing on what kind of materials are on certain places. And I also think that if you have an LMG, it's going to do more damage through those materials than what it has in the past. And specializations are going to take the place of attachments for guns. So the archetypes and the exotics, I mentioned them before. Those are going to be taking the places of what you would normally see as your attachments on the gun. So the foregrip, the iron sights, or the scopes, or stocks, or anything like that. From the way I understand it, from what I've heard so far, that is all cosmetic. That has absolutely no bearing on your gun itself. What really has, what's really going to affect your gunplay is your archetype. So you can have an archetype within your class. So an assault guy who is really good at killing tanks, or who is really good at killing infantry. So you have a split within that class, so almost like a subclass for the class. And I don't know, that's kind of interesting because instead of picking classes and guns, it feels like you're just going to be picking. You're going to be picking your almost like a hero in a way that you've customized. I as soon as I heard the way it was described, and they described it better than I am, I thought of like, wow, as you know, I'm going to be playing a tank character today, but this tank character is, you know, kind of decent at doing DPS at the same time. So that's kind of the way I was rationalizing it in my head. Very interesting. Really curious to see how it's going to be playing out. I myself love the fact that attachments are either toned down or gone. I thought that Battlefield 3 even had too many attachments for weapons. I'm not a big attachments guy. I come back from FPS back in the day where you just got a gun. There were no attachments to it. It was just a gun. And that's just what you played with it. And if you wanted a better gun, you got a different gun. So really like the way that that is going to be shaping up. And I think competitive is going to be pretty interesting with it, especially with the way Incursions was structured. If they're going to do the same kind of structure, then it's going to diversify your classes a lot. I mean, I can see them easily coming up with 16 to 20 classes right from the get-go out of these type of archetypes. So, Safe, real quick, what do you think?
I don't mind. I mean, I don't mind how to start this out. It's quite
well.
New.
Start at the top of the list and work your way down.
Needs to test it first.
How do you test it?
Well, first of all, the subclass system or whatever is this. Where you say there's like someone who's good at like versus tank, and someone who's also can be good versus infantries, or a tanker that can be good versus infantries, whatever. I mean, I find this all interesting. It's actually you're creating more depth into the game, and I like that a lot. that superficial anymore. So all these new ideas, they sound quite interesting. I just think that, just to go back to some of the previous points we talked about, there's just a lot of things, like, you know, shooting while jumping, or uh, shooting while while doing the dolphin dive or whatever. I think there's a lot of mechanics. Maybe I find it that there's too many in the game. Um, they're they're all not bad. They're actually pretty good. That's what we've all been asking for. But I feel like, it's just like the trailer. It's like
It's too
you get
much.
it all. You get it all right in your face, you know. And I'm like,
That's what she said.
you know, how can I have that on my
Hey, this is a
keyboard?
PG cast.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, I think it's good. It takes time to adapt and to learn all these things. I just think there are just way too many things, and I hope there is a balance.
Well,
I like depth, but balance is very important as well. And yeah, you know,
yeah,
what
I think this is going to
it's
be
good.
really interesting
Change is good.
for.
I like changes.
I think it's going to be interesting for players coming in, because I think a lot of the stuff is going to be highlighting players being able to learn and practice these particular mechanics to be really, really good at them, instead of just, you know, hitting your mouse 3 slide button everywhere. Okay, Deuce, real quick, what do you think, buddy?
I mean, the visual recall being gone, thank the Lord.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one.
You know, the every gun having a unique recoil pattern, no random spread. I think that's great. I think we've been asking for this for a long time. It's great that people can like learn their gun and master their gun. I think this is a big plus. Shooting while vaulting, that's fine with me. I really love the inclusion of shooting while jumping in, but not only so much because of, you know, BF3, BF4, and just how we got used to playing the game. I just think it's a mechanic that forces you to commit to your movement a lot more than, you know, the slide spamming we experience in BF1. So I'm just happy that that's going to be gone, and I don't have to ever do it or see it again.
Yeah.
The LMG bipods easy to set up and use. I'm kind of concerned about that. I think they're already easy to set up and use. I don't see how they can become, you know, easier than that. But we'll see. The shooting grenades can become interesting, especially, you know, this ties into, you know, reducing the explosive spam, or how you have to, you know, just deal with it. Before, you know, they shot a grenade and you just couldn't do anything about it, even if you were, you know, there by mistake, or there early enough to, you know, catch and throw it back. So I think that's good. Maybe forces people to throw nades a little differently. Maybe, you know, make them bounce off walls so people can't really throw them back fast enough. The bullet penetration on thin materials, I mean, that's good, especially, you know, a lot of times I'm shooting through. I know guys who are right behind the door, and I'm shooting through the door, but my first 5 bullets, you know, get just absorbed by the door, because I'm trying to, you know, like destroy a little panel on the wall. So maybe if, you know, a couple bullets go through that, it's actually a big plus.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to see like a guy just LMG bipod with 200 round mag just shooting from a distance into the fucking building, and whatever's in there, no matter, you know, if the guy knows who's in there, it gets killed. But if you can, you know, if you can aim it and you can, you know, you're aware of where the person is, then that's a big plus. I mean, imagine when you're on, you know, when you're on Amiens, and you're attacking, and you know that little guy's in that little corner. Imagine that you could just shoot through it. I mean, that could be good or bad for that map, but it's an example that if you know that guy's always going to be there, you can just shoot back, and that guy will have to adapt and, you know, find new places to just sit and camp at while you're attacking. I'm kind of weirded out about the specializations. I mean, I think it's going to be cool, but at the same time, as opposed to you, I'm a very big attachments guy. Like I love the customization you were able to get in BF3 and BF4, but not so much from the competitive side, just like a fun aspect to like the public game, and that brought me back and allowed me to like do a lot of like fun trolling, to be honest. Like, you know, like having an like, I don't know, an AN94 with like IRNV sights just to go around and mess with people, just have fun, throwing smoke everywhere. That was just part of the fun. And
well, you can still do that kind of stuff.
I know, but it was like, part of like the sandbox.
Affect the gun.
It's kind of like the sandbox experience, in my opinion, like being able to do all that stuff. So I mean, it depends just how much they allow us to do.
They're going to allow you to attach stuff to it, scopes and everything like that, but they're not going to affect the gun. Like you're not going to be able to put a foregrip on it and it tightens up the hip fire. You know, that's what they're going to be changing.
No, I mean that's fine. I mean, I didn't read too much into that part.
All right, so next thing is classes. Classes are pretty straightforward. You're going to be 4 classes: Assault, Medic, Scout, and Support. I don't know if this has actually been confirmed or not, and Deuce is going to have to leave here in about 5 minutes, so we're going to wrap this up. Well, this part real quick. Safe and I will continue on for a few more minutes, but I think Safe was pointing this out at one point. I read it in another article. Sounds like there's only going to be 4 players in a actual squad, so that'll be pretty interesting to see how that plays out. But class archetypes, we talked about that a little bit previously, which is going to be a specialization, basically a subclass, and then they're going to have exotics, which is going to take that just a little bit further. They did put a picture out in the wild. I have it here in the rotation of pictures of one of the exotics, which is pretty interesting with the things that they have. One of the things that I didn't like about it was it did have a suppression sensitivity on there, which that's they haven't confirmed or denied suppression in there, but that kind of tells me that some kind of suppression is in it. So we'll see how that goes. Moving on, we are going to be talking about the medic. Now, this one
thing though, just because before you move on, like I think what the article Safe even linked me to that said about the 4 people in the squad, I think that's just based on the fact that on the trailer, like you see the squads on the bottom left, and there's just 4 people in it.
Well, the reason
I'm assuming that's co-op.
But I'm reading more into it because the press day, they had like a 3-hour long reveal to them. So like the press day guys had like a lot more time and a lot more detail sent out than what we saw. That's why Jack was able to give such a detailed video.
I thought the multiplayer won't be actually revealed to anyone, like, or it's under NDA until EA Play. That's how I understood it, and so, like, I feel like they just showed them maybe campaign and co-op, and that's like part of the co-op. Or maybe there's a misunderstanding there. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't just take it as it's only 4 until.
Well, no, I'm not taking it at face value, but I mean, I don't. I think
I just figured that's where that was coming from.
Well, I didn't see anything about NDA on multiplayer or anything like that, but you know, it is what it is. So next is Medic. So Medic has had some really big changes. They didn't want to have revive chains coming back, but revives will have an animation with a few seconds. Animation can be canceled. Players can be dragged into cover to be revived. Any member of the squad can actually be revived by any of their other squad members, regardless of class. So if you don't even have any meds, you can still get some revives going on. You just will not be at full health when you do get revived, and it will take longer in the animation. And now you can call for help as a down player or go in for a force bleed out. Now, Deuce, since you're going to have to leave here in a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and let you take this one.
Deuce?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
I'm going to go ahead and let you have the first response on this one since you have to leave.
Yeah, but I didn't hear the question.
The question, it's what I have on there, the medic. It's in the notes I sent you.
Just the changes about the medic. What do you think about it?
I swear. You try and help these guys move along.
I'm being bad right now.
It's just terrible. So revives are going to have animation with a few seconds. Animations can be canceled. Players can be dragged into cover and be revived. Any member of the squad can revive another member, and you can.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, that stuff. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not sure. I'm with this whole anyone can revive, but at the same time, if everyone can get ammo from some places and everyone can get help from some places, this maybe makes sense. I'm just hoping that it takes a very long time if someone that's not a medic wants to revive someone else. Not so to make it useless, but to make it so that you really just clear the flag and your guy's just there and you're just gonna revive him. You know, it's not something you should be able to do like mid chaos. The dragging, I feel that's gonna be pretty cool and useful. I'm just concerned about the glitchiness of that, especially when you have destroyed terrain and stuff like that. But I mean, if it works as intended, then sure, +1 for me. Yeah, I mean that works. I mean, I'm the lack of spamminess from the medic. I think it should be embraced in the sense that the medic class has just been too overpowered in the past, and everyone's like, oh yeah, well that's a competitive class. But no, this was a competitive class because all the competitive players like to abuse the shit out of everything, and so that was like the most OP class. That's why everyone used that class, but they didn't represent Battlefield, and it just created a massive unbalance in the Battlefield. So that this finally means that players will start exploring and learning under classes, which is already we've started seeing with the introduction of incursions, which is a big plus to me. People have had to learn different guns as opposed to just to like auto loading extended. So this is a big plus for me.
All right. Well, Deuce is gonna have to head on out. Thanks for coming up, man. Make sure you guys do follow him, codename Deuce.
Thanks for having me, guys. Sorry for leaving early.
Yeah.
But I'm working today, so.
Oh well. Anyways, so Safe. Have a good one, Deuce. Safe, what do you think so far about the medic?
I think the medic's gonna have. I mean, even though everyone can revive their squad mates, I still think the medic can have a huge impact in the game because of the what is called the interaction, where you have to pick up your meds or health, and it's not automatic anymore. Other than that, I think I don't really have much to say about the medic because I think it's just gonna remain the same. The medic has always been the most important kit in the game.
Right.
It's like in all battlefields, they always had the best guns. They were always it is the offensive class, and they're always the ones who can heal and revive, and that's how it's going to be in the next battlefield as well. So. And they're gonna have a lot of. They're gonna be more important now, especially with the non-auto gen thingy not working anymore.
Well,
so
auto regen's just not all the way.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. So the way it works is it's in stages. So let's just imagine your health bar is broken down into 4 different stages. Okay. So if you're down to 68 health, okay, you will only regen up to that 75% because you'll have the three stages there. You won't regen all the way up to 100. So if you're only getting hit, let's say for 90, or if you're 10 damage, then you're going to be regening all the way up to 100. But if you get hit for 50 damage, you're only going to have 50 health. You're not going to regen anything.
Okay. Now I understand. Are you sure about that? Is that like confirmed or?
Yeah, that's the way they explained it on.
Okay. Oh well.
I don't know if it's going to be broken up into 4 pieces, but that's the gist.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's. Yeah. I mean, I understand it's a little bit similar to PUBG because that's how PUBG works. With like, if you don't have the. If you don't use the big med kit or the largest one, you will not be you won't heal 200%.
Yeah.
So, but in any case, it will still be the most important kit in the game. That's how it sounds like to me, at least so far.
Yeah.
Especially with these new changes.
Well, I'm really going to be interested to see how this is going to be shaping up for competitive side of things. Once again, we did talk about the reviving taking amount of time, and also with the heals. But what I'm really curious about is the fact that every member can actually revive. So that kind of makes this incursion style of, or incursions format that we've seen, where you have to pick a class, potentially, I'm not saying, this is the way it's going to be, but potentially, you're going to be not needing a medic, depending on how a team plays, particularly, because you obviously can go in for those revives on a particular player. You don't have to really worry about it. If you have those really tight battles onto a flag, a guy, he's the last one left, gets that one-on-one, and you're going to have 15 seconds before they make it back to the point. You can revive maybe 1 or 2 of your guys to get back into the point right away. Like, that changes things quite a bit, and not have to have that medic.
It does. It does.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to be a little bit weaker, but you're still going to be up and alive right there on that point. So that changes the scope of things quite a bit. And then obviously I myself love the fact that you can, as a public player, love the fact that you can call out for help. I think that's one of the worst things that they did in Battlefield 1 is they had a fast respawn, so-called fast respawn, or skip revive, but they didn't have the ability to actually call out for somebody to help. Like, that was the dumbest thing ever. Like, let me holler at somebody. Let me show them that, hey, I'm waiting for this revive to come get me. and then have them go
We
get
had
it. So.
which Battlefield had this? I forgot. Was it Bad Company or?
I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I think a Battlefield did have it at some point.
Yeah, right. If I'm not completely wrong, then yeah, I remember it existed. Yeah, I don't think it shouldn't be spammable, of course, but it should be there.
Yep.
Definitely, and we should have the chance or the opportunity to react.
Yeah, Mr. Clear, I'm not really sure the health regen stat on the archetypes, what that means. I was just talking about the way they were talking about it being broken down into segments and having only that segment regen and not the entire health bar. So yeah, medics are going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to them in competitive and seeing how it's going to be playing out. Next is going to be squads. Squads are really going to be interesting. So join squads automatically in the public version. When you die, you'll be sent to a squad deploy screen before the map deploy screen. When you are sent there, you are going to be able to see every person in a third-person view, and you can actually switch to each.
View, okay.
Yeah, and you can switch to each of those teammates to see if they are good to spawn on. What's going to be interesting with this is that we've already had this. Bad Company 2, I believe it was, did this exact same thing. I got somebody mowing outside my window, so I apologize for the noise, guys. But Bad Company 2 did this exact same thing. You could see everything around their, that player to spawn in. So I don't really, this isn't like a new feature or anything. It is nice to have.
Wasn't BF4 as well?
Yeah, BF4 had it, but it was a small window. It was a very small window.
Yeah, it was a small window. I like the first person more. I think that the third person thingy could be abused. I don't know if you remember in BF3 how it was used. That when you died, you could click on different spot.
Yeah.
Spawn areas, and then you can see on the map where the enemy
was. I actually commentated an entire match like that one time.
Yeah.
I shit you not. Yeah. It was horrible.
Well, you're a pro, man.
I hated it. That was one of the worst casts that I've ever done. Not just in quality, but just in frustration. Yeah, it's definitely something that could be abused. I don't know if that's going to be on the points themselves, but it is going to be on the people for that third-person view. Squad reinforcements. So the squad is going to build up points for doing team actions, and the squad leader will be able to spend them. I know people won't like me saying this, but they're basically streaks, similar to what we saw in Call of Duty, but only the squad leader is going to be able to do that. He's going to be able to have access to V1 rockets, supply drops with ammo and health, smoke barrages, heavy weapon kits, like we saw in Battlefield 4 pickups, squad-only vehicles like a flamethrower tank and some kind of small little Tiger, Strum Tiger, or whatever it's going to be called. And then I believe somebody said in an article a bombing run of some kind. I don't know if if they just meant rockets and they mistyped that as a bombing run or whatever that was, but that's interesting. It's going to be curious to see how that is going to. I don't see this being in incursions, at least not the offensive part of it. Like I could see where like a squad leader in incursions could like maybe call in some ammo and health in a certain position or a smoke barrage. But an actual offensive strike, like that right there, that doesn't sit well with me at all. Not in a 5v5 or a 4v4 game mode. I don't really like that idea. It's because if it's based on team actions, then if your team is doing, and I'm not talking about ranked here, not necessarily, pre-made teams, but if your team is doing nothing in order to get onto the point, or they're just, it's going to build up a snowball effect for the other team, and then you're going to be stuck with nothing. So it'd be interesting to see how they implement that, if at all, in competitive. I would definitely I like the idea of having those supply drops and smokes. I think that would be really cool to be able to drop that in. Because you imagine if you're on, squad breakthrough and Amains, and on the last point, or on the second point, you're down like the 3 or 4 health, or 3 or 4 tickets. You drop in a smoke screen right on top of the tank. All 5 of you guys, hit the point real quick. It just turns into this, real crazy, chaotic, 5-man close quarter battle. Like I see that being really cool in order to use it in that situation, or maybe being able to drop in some supplies to a player who is able to get
yeah.
maybe some back a flank going on or something like that, heal up real quick and then go in for a kill. That stuff I love. I absolutely love that idea for it for competitive. Public, it's going to be pretty fun, I think, to see that. I'll definitely.
I'm looking so much forward to test the beta. I mean,
yeah.
I'm actually looking forward when I saw all this new stuff coming in. I know I said it's all goodies, you know.
Well, you know, like we are
it's
competitive players.
Too much of it, and I want to see how it works out. You know, I have my faith into Drunks and Rella, and I know what these guys are doing, and definitely Ghost as well.
Yeah,
these guys, they know what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah. I mean, let's see.
Well, okay, so you know, we do like to talk a lot about competitive. We play a lot of competitive. We base a lot of things off of competitive. But at the heart of everything, you know, we are Battlefield fans. Like, we love playing the public game just as much as we love playing the competitive part of the game. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're going to spend thousands of hours in pub play if it's good. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about being able to do that. So, yeah, some of these features I'm definitely looking forward to in the public realm. Next, let's talk about vehicles. Now, I know, Safe, since you're a pro tanker now, and that's basically what you mean.
That's embarrassing
talking about
that ever.
Yeah, talking about vehicles. Okay, so you can now, first of all, there are going to be 3 different types of tanks and 3 different types of aircraft from what we can tell so far in the picture that they have released. These tanks are going to vary in terms of power, just like they did in past games with the APC and the heavy tanks, you know, being able to move faster, do a little bit less damage. The other one moves slower but does more damage, that type of thing. You can now tow certain weapons with tanks and half-tracks. They can consist of AA guns, supply depots, and cannons. So we're nearing the end of the cast here, so we're gonna kind of break this down one by one. So first of all, I do not like the idea of building an AA gun or a cannon and being able to tow it around with a tank. I feel, especially because you can have a guy on the back of that AA gun or cannon while towing and shooting. Can you just imagine like a tank running around with an AA gun and a guy on it? Like, that's like a super weapon. Like, I don't see that being a good thing.
That's why I'm saying there's just too much stuff, you know. Like, even in public, I know that all this sandbox gameplay, and it is fun. You can have your moments in there, but sometimes it can be a little bit too much, and it drives the focus away from the, what is it called, the objective, or the team play, the gameplay, the winning.
There's got to be a cap on it, right? Like, you got to think that there's a cap, that you can only build so many of them.
No, the build should be slow. Like, if you want to build something, yeah, like Deuce said, there should be some sort of, I don't know, what was it you call it, economy system, something similar.
Yeah.
And besides that, it should take time. Like, but I'm not a big fan of building LMGs or LMG. Yeah, you know, whatever, cannons, guns. I think it's too scary to me. I'm actually quite confused when I saw all that stuff. I was like, what the hell?
Well, I like the idea.
It's interesting. I like the idea too, because when you went AFK earlier, I explained I like the idea, and on Rainbow Six, where the fortifications there are pretty cool. There's a purpose, and it's not spammable. You can use it a few times, and this is something I'd love to see in this game as well.
Well, so my thing on it is, like, I like the idea of being able to tow things. I think that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I don't think that a person should be able to sit on the back of it and use it while it's being towed. I think that you should be able to back up to it, hook on, however that's going to work, tow it to where you're going to, drop it, and then have to get out of your tank, jump on it in order to use it. Like, I don't think that somebody should be able to use it while you're driving. I think that that's just ridiculous and can lead to very overpowered situations. I don't know. Maybe they made it so that's not that way. I don't know. I do like the idea of being able to take AAs to certain positions on the map. That's pretty darn cool. I love, and this is the part that I love, is the fact that you can take supply depots with the tank. So having a supply depot that you have to interact with, and we are hoping that Battlefield 5 will have competition. That's kind of the whole point of why we're talking about this stuff. We got our fingers crossed, but there's a pretty good chance that they're going to make some kind of push for it. I like the idea of having those supply depots, being able to take them into right on the edge of a very big, because we've all seen it. We've all seen a big attack about to happen onto a point. You come in with the tank, you drop the supply depot, guys are able to spawn in, grab ammo, and assault really a certain point. That's going to be so badass to watch and play. Like, I can see that being in so many epic moments. Like, you just see this tank comes in with the supply depot, drops it, and it like turns into this launching point for a massive attack. People start to congregate around it, and then they go from a launching point towards their objective. Like, that just looks so cool. And with Classic Conquest possibly making it back into this, I definitely like the idea of this coming in for potentially 8v8s or 10v10s.
Finally, it's coming.
That would be so freaking sweet.
Oh yeah, a lot of sweet stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we've gushed over that one. Vehicles will have specializations. That's no surprise there. Transports are going to be on the map. They don't have to be spawning in at a certain spawn screen. Combat vehicles, tanks, airplanes, those of like will be at the spawn screen just like they were in Battlefield 1. Again, there's going to be 3 versions of tanks, 3 versions of the airplanes. So overall, I think vehicles are going to be a lot more interesting than what they were in Battlefield 1, which they were just, in my opinion, trash. I mean, they just so boring. Not trash in terms of power, but just trash in terms of like, they just weren't exciting to play. They weren't interesting past 1 or 2 games of just demolishing a team 100-0, you know?
Hold on a minute, my sound is cutting off a bit. Wait a minute, what the hell?
Well, I can hear you.
Now I can. Sorry. You can continue now. Yeah.
Okay. So safe is back. All right. So I mean, I see vehicles being a lot more interesting in this new game, and I see them being a lot more interesting potentially in a conquest small setting with 8v8s, 10v10s, that type of stuff coming into this new game. I'm excited for it. I feel like we're going to have an incursions like competitive scene, and then we're going to have back to that old conquest competitive scene, which I'm really, really excited for. As far as like if they do have incursions in the next one with a vehicle, with them having these like smaller tanks, you could, I do see a potential for it like expanding upon that class, and potentially even having like a dedicated tank class where like you don't actually play as an infantry player. You just like maybe instead of a 2-minute spawn in, you spawn in as a tank, and then you have the option of spawning in like as a light vehicle, or you have a 30-second spawn that you have to wait, as a tanker. But it'll be interesting to see how they do balance it for it. It will bring more variation as opposed to just, having a tank hunter, which kills everything, and then that other tank. There's a car, which never gets used unless you're trolling somebody who's really bad in the game.
Yep.
Oh man. But
Classic Conquest coming back, that's one of the best news. I mean, it's sad that we already had these things, so it's like nothing new. It's just like it wasn't necessary to be in Battlefield 1 in the first place.
And a lot of the stuff that is coming back is not new. A lot of the features that everybody's getting excited about is not new. This is stuff that they took out of the game in the past, and now they're bringing it back, and everybody's like, "Woo!" I agree. It's like, yes, finally. I'm glad we're seeing the restrictive auto health regen. I love that aspect of it. I love the fact that we're seeing more emphasis being put on classes and on squads. Squads. Another thing which is going to be interesting is, can we spawn on everybody or just a spawn leader? I don't think anybody's ever said anything about that so far. That would be interesting to kind of note. So go ahead.
Needs to be tested.
Yeah. So next, we're going to talk about destruction. This is our second to last panel here, and then we're going to be shutting this down. But destruction. So we have directional destruction. If a shell explodes inside the building, it will blow the windows and walls outward. If it hits the outside of the building, it will blow the rubble inwards. Destruction will be on a micro level in terms of if the vehicle runs into a wall, it's going to be blowing out that that particular part of the house. If you're shooting in a certain area, it's going to be blowing up that particular spot. And then when it crumbles down, it doesn't necessarily crumble the entire house at once. It like the scripted process that we've seen, it'll slowly start to decay and fall apart, which is going to be pretty interesting. I think that's going to be I think that's going to be really cool to see the buildings like half blown up, and then you're trying to fortify them, and you got this like kind of decrepit looking half put together house that's still being fought out of. And I don't know, I think that's kind of a cool idea. They'll have mortars and tanks. I don't know if that's the case, Roto, but if that sucks. I don't think anybody here likes mortars except for Safe. Safe loves mortars. He practically sleeps with one at night. Yeah, I think the way I think the way the destruction is looking up, it's going to be pretty neat. I'm really curious to see how, like, I'm not sure if tank shells are going to affect the pushback on players. But if it does, I can see kind of an issue where, if a couple of players run into a house, they're trying to cap a point or get an objective, can a tank just snipe from afar and disrupt them from maybe planning a charge, disarming a charge, just because of the shockwave, that type of thing. Like, that definitely doesn't make me feel too good about it. The other thing that I don't like is the potential. Now, I say I don't like. I don't know if that's going to be the case. But the potential for debris to come back. I absolutely hate debris killing me in a house. It takes absolutely no skill. The tank just shoots the top of the building and then boom, I'm dead. Like, that pisses me off to no end. I have a feeling, like you said, Safe, that's definitely going to be a part of it. But I hope that it's not too bad where just any part of the house that you're in, he shoots it, you die.
I know, yeah, yeah, I know, dies. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be worse than BF1. Yeah, I can't really say much about that. I just hope it can be limited to some extent, or something that can be disabled in the competitive game mode, because there will be explosions, definitely, even in the competitive game mode. It's part of Battlefield, hooray! But it shouldn't be abused. Like, I know it's already been reduced a lot in the current incursions in Battlefield 1, and I'm pretty sure it's something they can control in the next Battlefield. Pretty sure.
Except for the mortars. We need more mortars.
Mortars, they don't bring them back in the game.
Oh my god. So destruction is definitely going to be interesting. How it's going to be involved in competitive and public. I hope it's not too crazy and overused. Last but not least, and there's going to be some stuff on here that I'm going to mention that is not on here. So server-side updates on server settings for specific problems. So what they're going to be able to do, from what I understand, is they're going to be able to go in, and if there is an issue with a particular what would be a good, if there's an issue with a particular like flag capping area, or if there's a issue with like a set piece that falls down and blows up, or if they have problems with suppression, or if they have problems with certain kinds of explosives or something like that, they can actually go into the server and turn that off without having to go through a big patch, like a monthly patch, and wait for it to go through. They can actually just turn that off there and then write a hotfix for it, the way I understood it, and then turn it back on, and boom, there you go. Which is pretty cool, that allows them to react to certain things a lot faster than what we've had in the past. No suppression information as of yet. The only thing that we've gotten so far is that on one of the archetypes, it does say suppression sensitivity, so something in suppression is going to be there. We haven't heard anything for RSP, although I would imagine that nothing is really going to be geared towards competitive. If they do have something for RSP, everything is going to be geared towards 32s, big communities, renting them. I would imagine that the cost of servers is still going to be pretty high. for small teams and small communities in order to get. And I doubt that they're going to have too many options for you to actually use. October 11th is going to be EA Access on Xbox on release for early play. There are going to be co-op modes, no premium for this, which that is actually going to affect competitive. So that's going to be pretty interesting. No premium is going to allow, and you know this awesome. As well as I do, that they come out with some really cool guns. We all want to use them because we use them in public, but we can't use them in competitive because it's behind a paywall. So this allows us to constantly be updating the game, to constantly be changing the meta as they release these new items. I love this. I love this. Yeah, the idea of being able to add in weapons and gadgets.
Is the best news, actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, and also it allows us to expand on the maps, because one of the reasons, at least that I was told, is that the map pool that we have for incursions was because they couldn't do any of the other maps that have come out, because then it would be like stepping on some kind of legality issue of, you know, people getting into maps that they didn't pay for. Maybe reading too far into it, but that's basically the way I understood it.
We'll have more populated servers as well.
Well, yeah,
because,
more everything.
Battlefield has always been like, you know, a game, and you add premium to it, and it's more like it's actually a game with 4 games in it.
Yeah.
Or I don't know how many DLCs they have, and then there's like it's split. There's like you have 1,000 playing here, 100 playing there, and the other 300 playing there, and they just can't play together. They can't have the same weapons, the same maps. It's not the same experience, and pretty much boring at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said,
it's going to help out quite a bit. And then the last thing on there is going to be Conquest Classic coming back, which is going to be fan-friggin-tastic. Definitely looking forward to that.
News, yeah.
You know, honestly, Conquest Classic comes back, and they have some halfway decent map designs for it. And dude, we're seeing 8s and 10s possibly coming back. We're seeing just a surge of more competitive players coming back into the game that ended up leaving Battlefield 1. I think that's good I think it's going to be good both for the incursions in Battlefield 5 if they come out with it, as well as the bigger modes, because both of them can kind of feed off of each other. You know as well as I do, a lot of the players that played in 5v5 in the old days also played in the 8v8s and vice versa. So it does give players and people a lot of opportunity to play in a lot of competitions in a lot of different settings. And it does bring in more people into the competitive sphere. A lot of people came in from the 8v8s and they ended up going into the 5v5s. So, you know, it's a really good way to feed the competitive scenes of both of those. So definitely excited about that. I think that is going to be wrapping it up. I'm not really too sure if there's anything else. I know I probably left something else off of this. But anywho's, if you guys did join us there towards the end of it and you want to check out more of the information of what we talked about previously from the fortifications, movement, classes, gunplay, all that kind of good stuff, this video will be up on the YouTubes. I believe tomorrow is when I'm probably going to be uploading it, so you can definitely check it out there. Thank you all for watching who did tune in. I hope you did enjoy it. This was just basically talking about what we do know for the new Battlefield and how it could potentially affect incursions or the competitive scene in the future. And hopefully we're going to be having some more information coming out very soon. EA Play isn't going to be in 2 weeks, so definitely tune in there, because they're going to be showing off the first multiplayer stuff for it. Definitely going to be interesting. Unfortunately, I don't think that I'm going to have the opportunity to go this time, so not going to have any play from me, any recordings or anything like that. But I know a couple of people who are going to go that are very, very good at the game that's going to be able to show a lot of really cool stuff for it. And yeah, we're going to be wrapping it up. I'm BrettFX. You can follow me on Twitter at BrettFX. Yeah, we're going to get it there. BrettFX. Codename Deuce. Make sure you check him out. He had to leave a little bit earlier. And then, of course, at Safe. All of our Twitter handles are up there onto the screen. We are, I believe, Safe. Do you still stream?
Very rarely.